HTB family, how's it going? Welcome to Hold the Ball, your home of pure rugby league. Hope you guys are well. Thank you again for tuning in on today's episode 6, right, of Locked On Warriors. That's right. You're probably wondering what on earth is going on. Who's this person here? This is Whas Up Podcast. I'm not going to introduce him. I'll let him introduce himself. So Whas Up? What's been happening? What are you up to? And again, tell us about your channel, where to find you, all that stuff.
Thanks, man. My name's Levon. I live in Hamilton, and I just created a podcast called the Whas Up Podcast. Pretty much play on the word, the Whas, kind of what we've been called lately, and then just sort of Whas Up, like what's happening lately with the Warriors. So you can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I do 2 shows a week, just by myself at the moment, and then I'm on Instagram as well at Whas Up Podcasts. Put up little videos, little snippets of game footage, trying to analyze our attack, our defense, that type of thing. But yeah, that's pretty much me, man.
Awesome, as Brian. Again, thank you again for joining in, and all of you guys there as well. Please do not forget to subscribe, to follow Whas Up Podcast. Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, and all those other places as well. It'll be much appreciated. But again, it is a Q&A, so we'll get straight into it. Hello, just Jacko. Hey, Mel, how are you going? And then we got all these other people here. So again, hope you guys are well. Have we got attack to analyze? All right, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Before we start as well, I'd like to sort of throw out a random match. So we'll just get straight into it. So random match of the Warriors was in 2006, the aftermatch over Mount Smart Stadium in Auckland, round 23 against the North Queensland Cowboys. We actually won that game 26 points to 0. Tries to Lance Ohaya, Simon Mannering, Sam Rapira, as well as Watuve, and then Hohai there with 5 conversions as well. Do you remember this game?
No, I can't really think about it, but I look at that lineup and I think, Hohai, Mannering, and then Watuve, obviously. Watuve tries just classic, Yeah. And 5 goals from Hohai, man. He was on fire that day, eh?
That's it.
Right. They must have been right by the sticks. I'm not sure if there was out wide. No, that's
so
cool.
So there you go, guys. A bit of a nostalgia trip, if you will. Before we sort of start as well, can I just ask as well, how did you become a Warriors fan, bro? Like, what drew you to the game? Please tell us.
Yeah, I grew up playing rugby league in Te Aratu. I was Te Aratu Rooster Junior, just in the kids' grades, and out in West Auckland. And then, the Warriors came along. I was probably about 8 or 9 when they had their first game. I kind of vaguely remember that, but I really got into them around that 2001 to that era of the grand final. The 2001 was really good. We got to the end of the season. I think we beat the Storm to get into the semis, and then we got pumped by the Eels. But pretty much from then on, that team followed them through, and then pretty much the Cleary era was another really strong era that left a big impression on me. And so pretty much since then, the last 10 years have been pretty tough, but this team, you fall in love with it, and no matter what happens, you still got to support and be there. So, but I like to say I've been there from day dot, but really those probably my teenage years from 2000s going through is probably the big impression upon me and pretty much solidified me as a fan. So yeah.
Sweet, thanks for that. Appreciate it. So what we're going to do is, well, before we get into the Knights game, we got the New Zealand Warriors SG as well as New South Wales Cup. Don't worry, if you haven't watched it, it is what it is. It's really hard to catch the SG ball. But just to give you guys a bit of a, I guess a bit of an update on the score. So the Warriors, our SG Ball Cup, unfortunately lost to the Roosters. Then quite a heavy loss there, 12 points to 46 against the Roosters. However, on the other side of the coin, the New South Wales Cup, the Warriors winning that. Oh, Roosters, apologies, it should be Warriors, but the Warriors beat Roosters 18 points to 30 there. So there we go. All right. So we know what happened over the weekend. It was probably a game where I sort of coined it as perhaps an uphill battle. Knowingly, I suppose you may have come to this game thinking the Warriors were probably an upset chance, but at the same time knowing that, hey, the Roosters are still a pretty tough team. Granted, that's the result. That's the way it happened. Can you give us, please, your personal review of the game and just give us, just what do you think about it, bro?
Yeah, absolutely. I know you mentioned earlier in your review of the game about character, and I was of the same mindset that this game would be a lot about character. and it highlight the areas that I suppose we were going to be lacking in. And I thought it was going to be defensively, but to my surprise, and which is great for us, is that our defense looks solid, and it's just I believe that Webby's done a great job. If you look at us in the contact areas, we're tough. We are dominating the tackle. The shifts, the move, just the whole setup is the system that we have, I believe, is really solid. And to see our boys keep a team to 18, 20 points, and under those circumstances, losing forward and then Curran and all that, I thought it was really a really good sign. So I thought it was going to highlight some deficiencies defensively, but then on the flip side, it kind of showed some areas on the offense that we're still lacking a bit, of kind of firepower or star power, should we say. Yep. If you look at Suoli'i, like on the opposite side, was damaging. And so it's just little things like that where, you can have one guy that can change a game for you, like a Tedesco or Suoli'i or Manu. And we're just lacking a bit of that quality. But apart from that, I thought it was a really good performance. And I think just some of the areas mainly around attack that I had issue with. One was the kicking options. And I was big on getting Tamaide to have to develop a kick or present some type of kicking option, but it just didn't happen. Sean was dependent on that bomb. We know it has pros and cons. Obviously, it's more of a defensive thing to get ourselves into a good setup defensively, but there was no grubbers. There was no repeat sets, from kicks. There was no kind of variation to how we ended our sets. And so for me, that was kind of the area that we were lacking in, really. And that's really what I take away from the game. My main takeaway was we just defended too much. We defended so much for that first 10 minutes. And then I felt we just had fatigue in the legs. The brain wasn't operating as best we could. I think, drop balls are just mental fatigue. You're tired. And it felt like when we got that chance to get the ball and put on some opportunities, we just didn't have the legs underneath us. And so that's something we will have to work on is going ahead. But otherwise, you got to say the character of the team, what the coaches instilled in this team character-wise is just defensively is just awesome. And now we can build off of that going forward. Yeah.
No, thanks for that. Look, I definitely would say I agree with what you said there. You mentioned the word character, and exactly that's probably something I sort of reflected on as well with the Warriors. Again, that character, that attitude that I've never seen before. To be fair, granted it's one game, so at the same time as well, you don't want to get too carried away, but at the same time, you got to take the small wins, regardless, right? And regardless of result, and I suppose that's the way I sort of looked at this game. Now you're right. You mentioned attack, and I thought for mine we just lacked that polish. And the reality is, we don't have too many stars in the back line. That's just what it is. Charles Nicole Cook starred, perhaps a star of yesteryear, if you will, maybe, still decent. Dylan Watson and Slesnik, I think, is probably as flash as it gets out there for me. But in saying that as well, you're right. The halves are just, they seem to still be just a little bit out of touch, in my opinion. Still not being able to sort of coordinate whatever it is they're trying to do. Like you said, Tamari Martin and Patches just wasn't there in terms of executing kicks and stuff. I didn't see enough. Sean Johnson there with the bomb, as we know, it's 50-50 almost every time. But I just feel like we just lack. It still reminds me of the Warriors of last year to a degree. Yeah. In terms of just attack purely. Now, granted, hey, we did manage to score some tries, so you take it as is. But at the same time as well, how do I say this? The Warriors' attack is not good enough to be a top 8 threat, in my opinion. Is there anything you sort of wanted to add on to that as well? Whas Up?
Well, I think you can add to see that first try was awesome. If you look at it design-wise, they attacked that second marker and Nate Butcher, I think it is. And they kind of like things like that where they design plays and Egan scores. That's awesome, and that's the type of variation we're gonna need. Is kind of set plays to kind of catch teams off guard, to isolate a player. But like I've said the analogy with basketball is that team defense in basketball is what it's all about, effort. But to score on the offensive side, you need superstars like your Kevin Durant's or your Kyrie Irving's, for those that know basketball. And I felt the same way that the Roosters weren't great. They just had some supreme athletes, elite talent to take them the extra step, and I think that's where, like you said, against top eight, that's what's going to happen. Is we're not going to be able to crack those defenses. We're going to have to create plays like we did for the Egan try to try and generate some offense. But for your bread and butter, getting some isolations on a center or back rower. You saw Curran wasn't able to really make a bend in the line when he went through. Newcourt is the only one, and maybe we'll talk a bit more about him. He was the one breaking through the line when he got his isolations. But if we're talking centers and wingers, you're right. There's just not much quality right now. But if we can continue to add to the bag, with that try, the Egan one, that play, a bit more variety, maybe we can generate enough points to win games and defend, if we can do that regularly against top eight, bottom 8 teams or bottom 9 now, then that's still good, So yeah.
Sweet, appreciate it. Some key players as well we'll sort of look at. Again, granted, I just picked up 5 players I thought. However, in saying that, you did touch on Marata Newcourt. So did you want to sort of just talk about him first before we sort of look at these other players?
Yeah. Well, I just noticed when he came on, he runs with venom. He's strong, he's tough. He was the one bending the line. If you looked at a lot of our forwards weren't breaking through. Even if you talk about Adam wasn't really breaking through the line. But when Marata was on, he was really bending the line, I thought. And then obviously that break and that setup for Adam.
Yep.
We need to get him in more isolations. And it's funny because we were doing that out the back play, right, where you shift from right to left all the way through. But it wasn't until Sean started going at the line himself that things started to open up. If you saw Sean started going, throwing underneath, dummying underneath, and then that's what opened up for Newcourt. And that's why I thought, well, that's the more variation we need to. We can't just keep doing out the back all the time. And then once Sean started to do that, he started to attract the defenders, and then we started getting these isolations with Marata. And I think Marata was, if you think about it, just our most damaging forward on Saturday. That's what I loved about it. We just need more of that type of, from our forwards, really. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I definitely like what Marata sort of brings to our game. However, what I want to see, though, is other players sort of taking what he's showing and also replicating it as well. There's just, I'll say the nearest player to him was probably Toy Harrison Patches as well as Adam Fanor Blake. But at the same time as well, there's just something about Newcourt where he just consistently just up the guts every time. And again, effective runs, as you sort of mentioned. Now we'll just go into Wade Egan here. So here are the stats here: 58 runs and all that stuff there. What are your thoughts on Wade Egan before I go on to the next player?
I thought great again. I think Wade's pretty much up there for Player of the Year at the moment. I mean, he's really looking like the difference between winning and losing. I felt for him a bit when he went off, and he kind of, did he go off for an HIA or something? I can't remember.
Yeah.
But he went off a little bit. And we just lost. You can tell when he's off at the moment is that we're losing a bit of direction. But I loved especially his last kind of second stint. He was starting to, you look at that line break he made, and then, he was starting to really penetrate in and around the ruck. But I love him. I love him at the moment, and I think he's so integral to our team. But we need guys in and around him. That's my only concern, is that there wasn't much support play. If he's going to go, we need our fullbacks, the halves. Tamaiti needs to be there. all the support players need to be in place to know that if he's going to go, you got to be there. And you saw that break that he made, and Sirenen was the support player. Now, if you can get someone else, maybe you might score there, or if you get maybe another player there, Sirenen can pass it off. So there's things there that we got to sort of support him in his role. But I thought he was amazing. Yeah.
Yep. No, I agree with you as well. All right. So about this player here as well. Tohu Harris, the captain. Look, the stats are there. What are your thoughts on them, bro?
I'm kind of against guys that do a lot of tackles, but they don't really make an impression upon the game. But I think Tohu's just making an impression on the game in every facet, and it's really surprising me that he's playing 80 minutes. He's doing all his tackling, but he's still offering something in attack. He's still leaving an impression on my eyes as a captain, and is leading the way. And I can't fault him. And I know it's his 200th game coming up, and we want to kind of want to get a win for him. I just think he's that good at the moment that he's and maybe I don't know if he's doing too much. Maybe it could be, but at the moment he seems like he's handling his workload perfectly. 60 tackles, man. 144 meters. If you do 60 tackles, you're usually doing 50 meters of running. You're not doing that much running. So 144 meters and 60 tackles, you can't complain. There's nothing there you can say. Yeah.
No, I agree with you as well. I guess just quickly as well, Tohu Harris is definitely showing that he is wanting to be that leader, through not only as the captain, but obviously through his actions as well. And like you said, there's just things that he's doing there that he shouldn't be doing. And you're right. The question is, though, is it too much? Is this going to be another case of Tohu Harris, unfortunately, getting injured, breaking down midway through the season, because it's happened before? So, again, those are the sort of questions. But in saying that, before we sort of get into the North Queensland Cowboys game, Shaun Johnson, I guess before I let you talk, my thoughts on him, I sort of just had a general spiel there, but 25 run meters, I guess, is one thing that sort of pops out to me. And I know we're always encouraging Shaun Johnson to take the line, run him the ball. And I don't know. I mean, granted, some good things, a try assist, sure. 2 tackle breaks, sure. 2-1 tackles, good, but we don't want Shaun Johnson primarily for his tackling. We need him for his offense. What are your thoughts on this game overall?
Yeah, it's a tough one with Shaun.
Yeah,
we're asking Tamaite to pick up his game to alleviate some of the pressure on Shaun. So I don't like to be too hard on him, because at the moment we're asking too much of him in general, in my view. But you do want Shaun to take those opportunities when they are presented. But I think, I just thought of one thing was the bomb, right? How many sets did we have? And I felt like there was almost 75% of the sets we did that bomb, right? And I watch, is it Adam Reynolds of the Broncos? Now he's doing a similar thing, but he's doing it in different parts of the field. Shaun's always doing it off that right side, right? Always Egan passes it to him, and then he's kicking from that position. And Adam Reynolds is just doing so much diversity of kicks.
Yeah.
Even though they're defensive kicks, they're bombs, pretty much. But they're from different parts of the field. They're attacking different areas of the field. And so that's my only concern with Shaun and that bomb, is that I said to Disco, he's a ball magnet, man. If he can figure you out straight away, he'll know where you're going to kick it to. And every time I look up, there's Tedesco right there to catch it, and without having to move. And so that's my concern, is that if we're going to be kicking, we got to be more creative about it, a bit more, and put Shaun in different areas, or get Egan to kick, those types of things. But my philosophy has always been that we're asking Shaun to do too much, and we haven't got the right halves pairing yet to support him. But 25 run meters, it's not gonna do enough to win the game. And we want to win the game, and we're asking Shaun, can you win the game? And at the moment, it's no, with those types of stats. But let's give it time to build. I mean, but we've seen it last year. That's the only problem. So, but I want to give him and Tamati a solid shot to try and figure this out. But it's skewed at the moment. There's not a balance right now. It's all on Sean, and I think whether the sets are designed, the fifth tackle options they're just poor. That's my view.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you in the sense that, Sean Johnson is going to be our number one option, right? So, we have no choice but to wait. However, I will also say at the same time as well, I enjoy Sean Johnson. I consider him the greatest SJ to have ever put on a Warriors jersey. You can't change my mind. That's my opinion. Yeah. I consider him greater than Stacey Jones. But at the same time as well, I also have been his biggest critic, and I don't mean in a nasty way, just in terms of reflection. How long? I guess the question is, we saw it last year. We waited. We were patient, and literally we got peanuts for it. Respectfully, we got peanuts for it. So again, yeah, I hear you. Combination, short, working out stuff. Obviously, Metcalf injured. All those things there. Yep. Volkman. It's definitely a waiting game. But for me, when do we sort of draw the line? I suppose I ask that as a rhetorical, I guess, to anyone there, perhaps. Yeah. When do we sort of draw the line? But yes, that there. But if there's anything you want to add with that, please feel free to. If not, we'll head on to the next subject.
I think the last thing is if that's his job, then that's his job. And if his job is to win the game, he's not winning the game. He's not winning the game for us, and that's back on him, and it's saying it's not cutting it. I just want to see something a little bit more from, if I can get a bit more balance. Like I've said, Sean, when he was with the Kiwis, when he had an organizing half doing some, he was perfect as a roving six. That's Sean peak. Now he's an organizer. He doesn't have the greatest organizing skills. Now, if that's his job, then he's not achieving it. But can we give him take some of the responsibility off and then see an improvement? That's all I'm asking. Is like, can we take some of that off of his shoulders, and can that then open up Sean? Because I've seen it before where they've been able to open that up for him by taking responsibility off of him. But if the responsibility is going to be on him the rest of the year to do this, it's not going to work. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And just quickly as well, Zork there, with the try not to laugh challenge there, man, you got me good, not going to lie. All right. Okay. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we turn our attention to a team in Townsville by the name of the North Queensland Cowboys. This team here in recent exchanges have definitely had the better over us, I think anyway, particularly the last game last year. However, in saying that, the Warriors made the squad selection, and sorry, I'm going to show the squad selection here. Yeah, it's going to be blocking our faces. It is what it is, but I won't have it here too long. But here is the squad selection there. I'll just take the banner down as well. What are your thoughts on the squad overall?
So I think I like what Webby's done. His philosophy, from what it looks like, is that he wants to keep the key players in the key positions. So if you look at our spine, Tamaide, Sean, Egan, and Dylan Walker, in a sense, are still kind of pretty much doing what they're supposed to be doing. So he's not about rejigging other players into other positions to then he wants his key players in the positions that he wants them in. That's why I think he's gone with Tane Tuopiki, is because he wants to keep Tamaiti there and Sean, but obviously he believes in Tane. And I think there was a little video put out about him, getting his nod for the debut. And I think that's great, that we have to believe in our players, we have to believe in them. And I'm sure we'll get into that, but I believe Tane has qualities that could potentially do well for us. We have to see them at first grade level, but from what I saw, he had really, really good runs. He had really good defensive positioning for kicks and placing himself in the right places, similar to what a CNK would be. And then he's that kind of small, speedy type fullback. So maybe we see him attack in different ways to a CNK. I'd like to see his link play. We know with Chance, he doesn't really have much in terms of distribution of the ball, but maybe Tane does. I'm not sure. But then going through the rest of the rotation, I'm looking forward to Barnett on the edge. It's kind of exciting in a way. I mean, we're losing a little. Maybe we're losing a little bit, but at the same time, we're gaining a little bit. And maybe that him replacing Ford there might lift us a little bit. And talking about, if you talk about that back row with Barnett and Yokota, you're automatically thinking damaging ball runners, and maybe they get a few more isolations where they're attacking a half or whatever, and we start to make some inroads into the Cowboys. But I like that they've kept the key guys in the right positions, and yeah, Josh Curran's there. Sirenen, I don't mind Sirenen too much. I know there's probably maybe Jazz could come in. But I'm expecting, our four and Tom Eiley to have a lot of minutes this Saturday. But I think that's probably the best team we've got right now. What do you think?
Yeah, look, I agree with you. And again, respectfully, I see Jazz Tavanga swapping for Bailey Sirenen. I really see that. It could be a last minute thing, but come on, if Jazz is ready, fit and ready, you're going to replace him, right? So I see him playing. What Jazz will bring to us is that mongrel, that never say die attitude, and I think he actually complements Toy Harris well as well. But as to where you sort of shift him, where you put him, coming off the bench, that's the interesting one. Dylan Walker, he, rocks and diamonds, I suppose. I really like what he brings, though. He sort of brings a little bit of a different dynamic to Sean Johnson's game. However, in saying that, though, just quickly going back to key moments in the game against the Roosters there, remember him dropping the ball so close to the line. So every player has it in him, but I'm always just wary of that. But again, looking forward to him play. Look, you touched on the backs there. Tane, tall picky. Cannot wait to see him play. I think he sort of brings. How do I say it? I think he's probably. I'm going to say it. I think he's a better ball runner than Chance to call Cookstad, in my opinion.
Yeah, probably right.
There's just something about Tane that I like when I see him play. I just feel like he's like a Tedesco, a Pappenhausen, a Campbell, where they're very aware of what's in front of them. They're always looking around. Where's the space? Where what gap can I pick that'll get me the most meters? He's that type of player. He is that type of player, and I really notice that's what I really like about him. Granted, he's obviously taking over an injured Chance to go Klukstad. If there was ever a time to make it and claim, make a mark, is now the time, brother. It is now the time. So I'm backing him all the way. I'm tall picky. Virtually unchanged, as you mentioned. Adam Pompey, it is what it is. Respectfully, however, in saying that, he does have those games where he does really bring it. He really does. As much as we sort of complain, there are actually games where he actually brings it, and then you're sort of left there absolutely frustrated. Like, why can he not do this every single game? So again, it's one of those ones there. But overall, the squad, you touched Barnett, could be. I'll tell you what, this is where he plays normally. So will we see a more natural game? Yeah, will we see a more natural game from Barnett? Where he's not forced to play out of position. Bunty after, I think will be loving it out there. Yeah. I just touching on all the points there. I agree with you. Josh Curran, I love King Curran. What can I say? But is there anything else you sort of want to talk on before we turn our attention to the Cowboys? Yeah, sorry.
One thing was,
okay.
Aden's got to have a massive game. Like he's got to battle with Taumalola pretty much. He's got to take ownership of that, and that's what I was concerned with Lindsay Collins last week. Lindsay Collins owned them, and Lindsay Collins played nearly 80 minutes. And we looked at that forward pack and we thought, hey, we could potentially beat these guys because we got Adam and we got all these guys. But Lindsay Collins he said, you're not beating me today. And so Adam's going to have to step up. If we're going to lose a bit of size, he's going to have to really own this one. But my only other point was, I do like, I forgot, bring Jazz in. I do agree with that. What I believe is that Tavanga should actually play the dummy half minutes that Egan rests. I don't like Walker at dummy half. I think we lose a bit of energy there. I like Walker at that first receiver position because it actually creates more opportunities. He becomes like a kind of a half pretty much. And then he kind of alleviates some of Sean's responsibilities and things start to pick up. So if Jazz came in, I'd like to see him take a few of those dummy half minutes away from Walker, so Walker can just focus on that first receiver, engaging the line, on offense type stuff. But apart from that, that's kind of where I see, where we're at.
Yep, I agree with you. All right, so now we're going to go straight into this one here. This is the Cowboys' thoughts, and I've also created one for the Cowboys. Granted, not as pretty as the Warriors one, but that's A-okay. Just give me like your general thoughts about this Cowboys team before we sort of move to the next. What are your thoughts generally?
I think the Cowboys, they lose Hiku and they lose their fullback. Now they've got a lot of kicking options, and even their fullback Drinkwater he's really dynamic. I thought they're a big speed team. They're about speed and shifting the ball. They're just a good all-round team, I think. But losing Drinkwater is big because he's a big part of the offense. Losing Hiku loses you a bit of experience, but I don't know much about their replacements. But look, that forward pack's pretty much intact. But they'll look to come home off a loss like that to the Broncos. It'll be a hot game. They're pretty good at home. I watched the game against the Raiders, and it was a similar game to how we played against the Roosters, where they got a lot of ball early on the game. The Raiders defended their line, and that's kind of my concern, is that we'll have to make sure that we don't do as much defense. We'll have to try and get even position by the end of the first half, because these guys wants to get so much ball. They're quick, they're sharp. They're just a good all-round team if you really look at it. But I've noticed that they leak a bit more points at the moment than us. So there's opportunities there. If we can even up the position and get equal opportunity, they can be scored on. We saw that last week with against the Broncos.
I agree with you. And just to sort of follow into that as well, that's right. Defensively, if you're a Cowboys fan, there's definitely some, I suppose, worrying to be done there, so to speak. But in saying that, my worry as a Warriors fan is the fact that because we've lost, as you touched on earlier, some big boys, right? Some big bodies due to injury. The likes of Ford, for example, he just adds so much to it. I'm afraid that we may get bullied around in the middle. That's my concern. And you touched on that matchup between Collins and Edinson Blake prior, where Collins won that, and I don't think it was really too much of a contest there, unfortunately, for Edinson Blake's, I suppose, case to make. I worry that with this Cowboys pack, and I'll just quickly bring it up again just for you guys to see it again. Thank you for watching. Feel free to ask questions and all that stuff. I'll get to the comment soon. You got the likes of Cohen Hess, Ruben Cotter, my goodness me, Jordan McLean, Jeremiah Nanai, Jason Dalmaloro. Now, granted, we understand that the Cowboys maybe in their backs, probably not defensively great, but we haven't even touched on their halves. Townsend. And this is a team here, whether you like it or not, they don't mind playing the Warriors, particularly Townsend for some reason. For some reason, he loves playing against us, but when he played for us, could barely even string a game or two. But that's just the way it goes with injuries and all that stuff. But all jokes aside, if you look at this lineup here, particularly the back there, the forwards, and then coming off the bench, Griffin Neem, New Zealand boy there, Darnell Brown, Tamo, goodness me. That is where my genuine concern is as we sort of, continue to preview. What are your thoughts on that? Because I am generally concerned.
Well, I look at their halves, and Tom Dearden, he's a very take on the line type of half. He's not afraid, man. So their halves are going to really take it to us. And that's what I'm saying. We're going to need Tamaiti to try and take on the line himself. I'm not even asking him to kick. I think he might need to actually just run the ball a bit, but to counter some of what they're doing, that forward pack just look. I like their hooker Reese Robson. He's good.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got just you go through it, and it's a big ask, of us. But my feeling is that we need to somehow not get into these situations where we're defending on our line for 10 minutes. These 6 agains are just killing us.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to have a really good first half, because I know we can defend. I know we can defend our line, but I prefer us to defend our line in the second half when the score might be closer. But you look at that team, again, there's just no real fault. Valentine Holmes, amazing kick returner, just speed merchant, knows how to play the game. Kyle Felt does what he does. You know, he puts on a few cheap shots here and there. I'm surprised he isn't out, man. He put on a shot. He hasn't been fined. So who knows what's happening. But Taulangi's just improved. You just see that he's grown. The only weakness I see is the fullback because I believe Drinkwater offers so much. Hiku is a bit of a liability. You saw Reece Walsh attack him on the weekend, but I don't know what this new guy is like. He might be perfectly fine defensively. So they'll push to try and get to an early lead and try and defend it in similar way. If we're behind by 12 points, are we going to be able to push through to get these to even up the game? That's why I think the first half is so important.
Yeah. We come to the last segment here of this, the Cowboys and the Warriors. Give it to me, bro. What are your thoughts, predictions? This is it. This is the hammer. This is, everything's in line here. Give me your thoughts, man.
I predicted the Roosters. I predicted we won 22-20 last week against the Roosters, but the Roosters got to 20 points. We only got to 12. But look, we've got to be realistic here. It's a tough ask to go to Townsville. Again, it's humidity. It's not a great place that we don't really play well there. They've come on off a loss again, similar to what the Roosters were. They play really comfortably at home. I mean, I don't want to talk about refs, but I saw the refs, Chris Sutton. He refereed our first game against the Knights. So maybe I don't want to, but maybe we get a bit more parity to what Adam G was last week. You know what I mean? Maybe we not so many sixer gains. But I believe we can win this game if we can hold that. So what my numbers from last week were, just give me a sec here. We only had 74 runs or something like that. Yeah. Total sets, we had 14 completed sets at the end of the first half last week. 18 total sets. Now, I think if we can get to, say, 18 to 20 completed sets, I'll be happy. And then if we can get to, say, 90 runs for, say, nearly 800 to 900 meters, that tells me we're in the game and we've got enough possession. Because the possession stats was 58 to 42 last week at the end of the first half. And that's just, you can't compete with that. And we just didn't have the legs. And so we've got to kind of try and figure out this first half issue where we're actually really able to stay in the game. If it goes into the halftime at 12-12, or, and we haven't done as much work as we needed to defensive-wise, I'll be happy because I know our boys have defended their line, against the Knights, and I think they'll be able to lift. It just depends if, I don't know, that's the unmeasured, unquantifiable at the moment. So I'm sticking with the Cowboys to win 20-18. Yeah, that's just as much as I want to try and create an honest scoreline for the Warriors, it's just too hard right now. Yeah.
Nah, I'm not even saying it because he said it, but I agree. Just straight up, that was my tip. Actually, was heading towards the Cowboys again. Realistically, obviously, look, I know there's a few people in the comments there that are definitely going to be, shaking their hands at us, but you're right. It's over in Townsville, humidity, heat, and the Cowboys coming off a loss. All right, they're playing at home. Queenslanders, these Queensland teams, when they play at home, they're just different, especially coming off a loss, right? They hate losing at home after a loss. Like, I don't know. It is what it is. I am tipping in the way of the Cowboys. Apologies there, guys. But look, if the Warriors win and they prove us wrong, good. Beautiful. Good. I'm happy to admit it. Until then, I'm just going to have to just roll the punches there because I predicted the Roosters, the Warriors last week, even though I had a feeling they would lose the game. And yeah, there you go. Anyway, that's the way it is. So Whas Up Podcast has the Warriors unfortunately losing, and I too have the Warriors unfortunately.
Sorry, guys.
Well.
We got to be real here, man.
Yeah, it is. All right. So I've got a few questions here for you before we sort of move on to the tips and then finishing it off as well. All right. So here we go. General, I know you sort of touched on it, but generally speaking, have you been impressed with the half so far and in context going into this game here as well?
I haven't been impressed, should I say, but there's opportunities there that are developing. I mean, we got a lot of ball where we shifted to the sides, and I kind of broke it down on my Instagram, is that we're facing the sideline. A lot of our plays, when you see Cozzy or Montoya get the ball, then there's no space. So I'd like to see our halves sort of redirect the play a bit better. I think Tamaiti at the moment sitting a little bit behind the ball too much, whereas he should be maybe a little bit flatter. Or, these are some of the technical things that I think if they can improve them, we can, they might be able to get a bit more out of it. But just right now, I'm not impressed. But I'm willing to give it some more time to be impressed. But it's a bit tough right now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, we all understand that the goal every year, and just to add to what you're saying as well, the goal every year for every NRL team is to win a premiership. Like literally, from the Tigers right down to the Penrith Panthers to the Broncos, every team wants to win a premiership. I'm not going to go down a cliche road here, so I'm going to stop with just. I'm not going to keep going. But the point is, you're right. The NRL from round one, things need to happen. Right, teams are winning, teams are losing. It's cutthroat. All right, and granted, again, I want patience. I want to wait and see as well. But again, the NRL does not care if we're waiting, unfortunately, for chemistry to connect, for players to spark, to rejuvenate themselves. Unfortunately, and as we all know, not us two here only, just you guys as well. It is what it is. So yeah, look, to lead on with that, am I impressed? No. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Not to single out anyone, but do you think there are some players perhaps in the team that could probably, if they, how do I form this? If they change their game, would be better, better for us? Are there any players that you might, and probably getting away from the halves there? Anyone else in particular that could probably change their quote unquote standard to be beneficial for us?
That's a good question. I don't want to be too hard on them because it's not so much that they can improve their standard, but it's almost like they don't have a feel for the game. And I've talked about Ed Cozzy at times where I feel for Ed because I feel at times his awareness of the game is quite low. I don't want to disrespect him, but
no, yeah, gotcha.
Just some awareness things like that kick that Lindsay Collins put in. I thought he tapped it out too early, way too early. There's the week against the Knights where he picked up the dropout. He didn't let it go the fall short of the 10. That just those types of things where I think Ed can do a little bit better. But that comes with just normal IQ. I think it's hard to say. I think we've labeled our centers as just not having quality. So it's hard to ask guys that don't have quality to find quality somehow. I'm talking about Pompey and I'm talking about Pompey in particular. But yeah, it's hard to ask someone that, hey, you need to find some quality in you, but they just don't have it. But like you said, he can have good games. You just want to see some more attacking prowess, I suppose. But I can't really think of anyone right now that isn't, because what I've seen defensively, everyone's meeting the standards. Cozzy's meeting the standards most of the times. So I can't really fault them other than for individual efforts on attack or in other parts of the game. Yeah.
Yep. No, understood. And I suppose just to add to that as well, particularly as you touched on, the IQ, even going further back to when you're talking about basketball and stuff, and just quickly as well in basketball, they talk about, the basketball IQ, IQ, on-court IQ. It is so important, so vital that's literally the difference between making a pass that you should have and making a pass you shouldn't have. It's literally those fine lines. And that's right, to sort of go on there with Gossy. Some players, yeah, that's right. Some players just make decisions that just aren't great, aren't the best decisions, that it can be costly. And again, the IQ, the footy IQ, as I call it, is so important. And some players just don't have it. Now, that's not to say he doesn't have it, because there's been moments where he has shown it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's defensively too. But again, it's one of those things where you learn, as the more you play, the more IQ you get. It is what it is, right? So again, just to finish on that note. Now, bro, we're going to get straight into this one here. before we get into another segment, just quickly. Tips. I'll just rattle out the games for you. You just give me your thoughts on them, yeah?
Cool.
All right. So the first game, Manly, Eels.
Well, Manly's looking good. Eels are on a downward trajectory, you know. I'm going to... Is this played at home?
This is a home game for Manly.
Yeah, I'm going to give Manly the tip at the moment. They've just come off a bye. They should be fresh at home. I'm picking Manly, yeah.
You know what I'll add, though? It's a very desperate Eels team, though. They're looking down the barrel of a 0-3. It's back against the wall here, and in my opinion, if they lose, this probably changes the trajectory of their season. And I don't think, if they lose, I don't think they make the 8. I'm just going to call it out right now.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yep.
Knights, Dolphins.
I think Knights are down on players. You know, we've just seen Ponga's got his concussion. They've had a few more injuries. They've lost a few players to suspension, maybe. The Dolphins lose JMK. I think JMK is that pivotal to maybe they might lose a game, but who knows? Dolphins, Wayne Bennett. I'm going to go Dolphins here.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you as well. Next game it's the oldest rivalry in NRL history. It's the Roosters against the Rabbitohs.
I think that's a real tough one. Man, you got me there. I'm going to go Rabbitohs. I think they offer a bit more. I just don't think the Roosters are hitting all their straps right now. Yeah, I'm going to go Rabbitohs in that one. Yep.
Okay. Titans and Storm.
You got to... Storm came off a pretty bad one. We know what Bellamy will be doing in the week. Titans are kind of on a bad run at the moment. Did they lose on the weekend? I think they did. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they lost to the St. George. Yeah. I'm gonna go Storm here. I think they picked themselves up off the ground there.
No worries. And we'll skip over the Cowboys, Warriors, Broncos, Dragons.
I think Broncos carry on. I think with Reese coming in, it just creates a dynamic that is just overpowering at times if they get him the ball in the right places, his speed. From what I already saw between him and Mam and the rest of the team, they're already operating on all cylinders, it looked like. So I'm going to go with the Broncos there. Yep.
Yeah, look, I think I'll agree with you. Although in saying that, I wouldn't put it past the Dragons to cause an upset. Granted, they did the same thing against the Titans, right? Everybody had the Titans winning and then bang, out of nowhere. I think this is a game where the Dragons might be up for it. I'm leaning towards the Dragons for some reason. But
cool.
Don't listen to me, though. I only got 1 out of 8 last week, so
did you?
Ignore me completely. I'm a delusional man when it comes to this. Bulldogs and Tigers.
Well, you got to say the Tigers are going to find something, right? 2 embarrassing losses at home, but then the Bulldogs just tore apart the Storm. So it's. Do you trust the Bulldogs to repeat, or do you believe that the Tigers will, pick up from those 2 losses? I'm gonna go Bulldogs, man. Yeah, I think they carry on. Off that.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I will say, though, that the Tigers, again, same boat as the Eels. And again, the Tigers, we all know what's happened in the offseason. We've been looking at them under a microscope, unfortunately, for them. And a lot of the stories we're hearing was, our attack is good. Our defense is good. We're changing. Things are happening.
Yeah.
New staff, new coaches. We are buzzing. Everything is going well over there in Tigerland, if you will. And it just hasn't been the case. And the fact the Dolphins, I don't want to say too much here, Tigers fans. I'm so sorry, but my goodness me, this could be a year that might even equal or actually be worse than the year that was last year. But yeah, Bulldogs for me. I think they win well.
I think they carry on. Yeah, you're right.
It's going to be ugly. And then the last game of the round, bear in mind that the Penrith Panthers have the bye. Raiders against the Sharks.
Yeah, man. Did the Sharks lose last week?
No,
They won. Is Heinz back?
No, not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. Next week, I'm hearing next week apparently.
Man, I feel the Raiders can just pull a game out too. You know, they're kind of like that type of team where they just got something about them where when they're on, you know. So it's at home, for the Raiders.
That's right. Yep.
You got to say 2 losses. Yeah, they're going to pick themselves up at home. I'm going to go Raiders.
Yeah, look, it's funny you mentioned that because, again, the Raiders, the Tigers, and the Eels are the only teams that actually have not tasted a victory this season. So, you know, not even a bye for them either. So it's kind of tough. But, yeah, you're right. Hey?
If they lose, man, Ricky will be putting an investigation in. And he can't take 3 losses, bro.
Some ref's going to get abused, you know it.
Yeah.
Look, this is tough here, but yeah, you're right. It's Raiders DNA. Also as well, just quickly, no, Papali's not back from 2, unfortunately. But I think the Raiders can pull this off. So I think I will leave it at that. But okay. Yeah, that's the tips there, guys. Last little segment. All right. Who am I? You ready?
Okay.
All right. I was born on the 3rd of the 9th, 1983 in Mackay, Queensland. I played 68 games for the Warriors between 2006 and 2008. And afterwards, I played 26 games, ironically, for the Cowboys. My preferred position was halfback, 5'8", but I mainly played halfback. I played 1 test match for Italy, and I was a finalist for the Dalian Rookie of the Year in my debut year. Who am I for the Warriors there?
The only Italian I can think of is that Ravelli? Is that the Italian name there? Grant Ravelli. Man.
There you go.
The Italian gave it away, bro. But
that's it. All right, well done, bro. But yeah, look, again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed yourself. This won't be the last time Whas Up Podcast will be on this channel here. I'm sure we'll have plenty of opportunities to sort of talk about and hopefully, you know, not lament over the Warriors. So we'll see what happens. But in saying that, again, any last sort of words, bro, before we leave?
No, thanks, man. Appreciate the support and the opportunity to be on your platform. You're doing great work. Love your work. And just thanks to everyone that's, you know, listening to my podcast and Instagram. And just we love the club and we just want to add value to what we believe in. So appreciate it, bro. Thanks. And I'm looking forward to the next time that this may happen. If it does happen, but I hope so.
No, it has to, man. It has to. I enjoy your content too. And again, to reiterate, please follow Whas Up Podcast on Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, and all those other places there as well. Again, thank you for your debut appearance, bro. It's cool, lad. Thank you again, guys, for watching. Take it easy, guys. And guess what? Whas Up Podcast, you know how to hold the ball, bro. Thank you again, guys. Take it easy.
Later, brother.